Welcome to Deep Deck. Gonna have a creative conversation.
Hello, welcome to Tape Deck, a podcast where I, artist-writer Declan Shalvey, have a creative conversation, namely with a past or present collaborator in comics. My collab bro this episode, is Justin Mason. It's not even the weekend. I'm a freelancer and I'm tired. Justin is currently known for his work on Spider-Punk and its upcoming sequel series Spider-Punk Arms Race. His other credits include Spider-Man 2099 Dark Genesis, Death of the Venomverse, and Marvel Zombies Black, White, and Blood. He lives in the backwoods of Kentucky with his wife and kids. Hello, Justin.
Thanks for having me.
I love backwoods of Kentucky. It just sounds, it sounds so justified, you know. Although that's not Kentucky.
Every time I'm at, it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not far from me actually. But yeah, every time I'm asked for a bio, I'm like, I gotta add that flavor of the backwoods because I'm in the woods essentially.
Yeah, you may as well. I don't always add in the Irish thing, but sometimes I do, just to stand out a little bit more from all the cosmopolitan types. Yeah. But so thanks for coming on, Justin. I wanted to get you on because I know you have the new Spider-Punk book out, and today you have a cover for Amazing Spider-Man. That's class. How'd you get? I'm just curious. How'd you get offered the Spider-Man cover?
Well, that was actually by luck. I'm sure you have been in similar situations. It's like I had an idea just to draw a Spider-Man piece, and I'm like, I like everybody's always done thwip sound effects around him, but I'm like, I want him to be sticking to some kind of brick or textured, blocks, and just drew it up, and then got on the phone with Ricky Purden over there at Marvel, and he was like, "Hey, you drew that Spider-Man thing. Is that for anything?" And I'm like, "No, it's a sketch." And he's like, "We kind of want to use that. We want to get that for you." So it was just
that's cool.
It was very lucky,
that doesn't normally happen. Yeah, it's just they'll make a cover of the thing you were drawing. It very, very rarely happens, but it's really cool.
Yeah. And that's what he said, it's like, we don't do this normally, but unless it's a cool idea. And then that was what really started the sound effects variants that we got starting from that. Because we got the Nightcrawler Bamf. And
yeah, I saw that too. So so now you're doing a whole line of like sound effects covers?
Yeah, essentially. They only got me like on a handful, which I've got the main important ones. They had me a list. And then it was like a few days later, they're like, let's cut this down because it was some off the wall sound effects that I had never even heard of characters. So, but I got the really cool main ones coming up.
That's good. But you basically just made a gig for yourself as a variant cover guy.
Yeah. Hopefully it can continue on down the road.
Yeah, well, it's the Spider-Man one's class. The Nightcrawler one I've seen is really cool too. But I wanted to get you on obviously because you have the books coming out, but also the whole point of this podcast is to talk of like who people I've worked with, and we've actually worked together a good bit. Not since you became like a proper professional, but like in your earlier days. We did a book called Rogues Gallery at Image, and before that we were working on a project at Dynamite called Dynamite. And we'll get into it, but I guess I should ask what your breaking in story is, because I know some of it's related to that, but what was, without the context of like what we've done, how did you break in?
Well, I consider the Dynamite the breaking in, I guess, because it was being connected with you. But that was, it's actually funny because I see Nate post on Twitter, Bulls and stuff. And I think I'd posted before, but, never heard nothing.
Nate Cosby, the Dynamite editor.
Yeah. And I had posted before and never heard nothing from him. But, I'm like, well, I'm going to keep trying just in case if I have something. And so I seen he posted again. And I'm like, okay, the only thing I think that might help is if I have traction with the tweet that I make. So I asked a buddy of mine, I'm like, can you like this tweet and maybe comment something, like, hey man, this dude's awesome. I don't know, just get some kind of interaction with it. And he did that for me, luckily. And I swear it was like the next day he messaged me and was just like, hey, do you want to do that with Declan Shalvey? And I was like, all right, yeah,
like,
let's do it. Who is it?
Yeah.
But yeah, that is what I consider the break for me, because just being able to connect with you and learn from you, so, and sadly it didn't work out in the end, but it was just a great opportunity to step up, keep stepping up from.
Yeah, no, I think we had a really good kind of collaboration going there till like ultimately there was a kind of a licensor issue, which kind of fecked things up, and it would have required me having to completely rework a whole load of story, and it was like it was more trouble than it was really kind of worth for me. So I was backing out, but I remember I checked with you first because I didn't want to leave you high and dry. But it was a real shame because basically the stuff I liked the most in it had to be cut out. Just like not to,
yeah.
Like I think that was it. If it was just a story note, it would be one thing, but it really meant like cutting out everything I liked about the project, really. And pages you had drawn that were amazing that wouldn't get seen. So it was I think just the whole, we had been talking a good bit and like the enthusiasm had kind of really gone up. And then it was just like shut down. But I do remember Nate showing me your stuff, and I was just like, it was a little rough in places, but there was like, you were so young and so good. Like there's some stuff you were so good at, which is people don't get good at till later on, that you just seem to have a really innate aptitude for, that I was like, this stuff is class. And then we started talking, and well, we'll get back to Dynamite, but what about what happened? So after Dynamite kind of fell apart for us, what happened next?
So the next, it was Rogues Gallery from Image. So that was, luckily that did work out, but that was a big one, really big step for me. Being able to, Dynamite's a big comic book, publisher, but I feel like Image is definitely a step up, in some ways, and especially it's just, I don't know, you get to express yourself a little bit more since you create your own stuff. And, we got to work with Hannah Rose May, but just that was the next step. I don't know. I mean,
and that was like a mini series. So that was 4 issues. And that was published through Image and the trades out. So that was your first paid gig that got published. Is that for like proper chunk of work? Is that right?
Properly, yeah. And the thing is, I had done like indie stuff, very indie stuff. Like nobody's ever seen in the light of day kind of thing. But so that was, I would like to say that was my properly first big time published work.
And I will say, like, I know I brought you onto that partly because I knew I had been talking to Hannah and she'd wanted to make this book and she had an idea, and I kind of came on to like basically help her make it. And we'd had such a great back and forth on Dynamite. I was like, I knew you were so good. I was like, number one, have to ask Justin Mason. He's so good. And I don't know how much longer after Dynamite it was, but like I was fairly sure you didn't have a gig at the time. So I was just thinking, like, this is perfect. An amazing talent that nobody really knows about, who needs a kind of a portfolio. I mean, I felt this would be a great portfolio gig for you. And it worked out. And then it seemed by the time you finished that book, you were like right in at Marvel pretty much.
I mean, actually, yeah, it was exactly after I finished it. But I just want to say, though, I'm just thankful that you did think of me and give me that opportunity, because seriously, if I didn't do Rogues, because after I finished Rogues, I sent the layouts, because I had been, I had talked to Ricky Purden since 2016, sent him little samples here and there. but nothing would ever stick. But it was Rogues, the pages I sent. I went ahead and sent over is what actually led him to immediately give me Spider-Punk.
Had you? That's interesting. And had you been sending samples before then?
Yeah, I had sent, because he had sent me like a Punisher sample script and something. It was like a X-Men or something. But yeah, they were not good, and I wasn't consistent over the years. But every, like maybe twice or three times a year, I might send him something new, but I just wasn't on it as much as I should have been.
Yeah, I think this is just my opinion now. I'm not speaking for Ricky or anybody else, but like I think like submission pages, I think that editors will assume that you spent 3 times, like you spent like 3 weeks on 3 pages. There's no sense of how long it's taking you to do it. Are you doing it to deadline? But when you sent in Rogues Gallery pages, did you say that was for an image book, or did you specify?
Yeah,
I think that changes things, because then people know you're doing it for a deadline and that it has to be done
exactly
a page a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it definitely changed it a lot, especially, and I think we had talked before, me and him, and he had talked about like wanting to see a chunk of work, wanting to see a row of issues type thing, and that was just the perfect 4 issues, so many pages, there was everything. Like what was perfect about Rogues is it had superhero stuff, it had like, I guess, like drama, it was
yeah, it action, it had horror, like it wasn't actual superheroes, but they were dressed up like superheroes, so it was as good. And there was, scenes from the show within the comic that looked like superhero films. So you kind of got to do a superhero portfolio within an indie horror book. So like, it was, and again, it was published. So at least Ricky would have known that like, this is a job that you are definitely doing. And also I think, after maybe the experience of Dynamite, because you basically drew an issue and a half, I would say, something like that. The working consistently on a whole book, like I think, I can't remember what we were talking at the time, but it might have really been a grind for you. But that's the grind that is making comics. Like that's what it actually is, and I think that's where you drill in the consistency that you said you were lacking before.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. You can always do samples, but like, the real consistency, real, the tone of what you're drawing, I think really gets baked in when you do a lot of pages in a short space of time. I think it really weeds out the problems. I don't know. Did you find that?
Yeah. Like with those pages, prior to that, I did a little indie thing, and I go back and look at them and I want to burn them, because I felt like I was straight up copying other artists, and it's like I wasn't being myself. For some reason though, when I hit Dynamite, I had, it's like, okay, I've got a deadline here, a really, a regular deadline. I have enough time to do it, but I can't be playing around and be trying to focus. So I just kind of went through it, and I think some of myself started coming out during Dynamite. I noticed for sure.
Yeah, well, I think Dynamite probably was the first place you got to do it. I do think you iron out your influences. I mean, your influences were very much on the nose when Nate first showed me your stuff. But I do think you find your own voice the more you're doing it, because you've internalized all the stuff that you love, but you also don't have time to be like, what did Todd McFarlane do, or whoever your influences are? You just kind of have to get to it. So your own stuff kind of, flows out more than you just kind of trying to not ape, but like project your influences on there. But so you got the call at Marvel then. So the first book you did was Spider-Punk, wasn't it? Or no, you did a short story? I can't remember.
No, it was straight up Spider-Punk. Sent him them pages, and he didn't say Spider-Punk right off. I think he was just kind of like, yeah, these are good. I think we've got something coming up. If you're interested, let me know. Yeah, basically. And I'm like, yeah,
sure, whatever.
Yeah. I guess. But yeah, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what it is, but sure, yeah, I don't even know how long it is. And it was I can't remember exactly, but maybe a couple days later, he ended up getting back with me, and it was just Spider Punk, and said it was a 5-issue mini, and that was the start of the run I've had so far at Marvel.
I've got a question related here. Hi guys, I'd like to know from Justin how he experienced the first months working on a Marvel professional level. I imagine it could be scary sometimes. How did you become comfortable with everything? So it's fairly relevant. That would have happened right then at Spider-Punk.
That's a good question, because I remember specifically having that script, getting the layouts done, and they're approved. I'm ready to start inking, and I was inking the pages, and I was shaking because I was nervous. I mean, because it's like, yeah, it's Spider-Punk, but it's still Spider-Man. It's still, that's the character at the base of it. So yeah, there was nerves, and it was, I don't know if it was scared nerves or just excitement nerves. But I think it's just like everything else. I was like, I have to do this. There's a deadline. Get through it. Do the best you can, and then just hope for the best, kind of thing.
And I mean, I mean, I do remember that fear, definitely, that comes. Do you remember when you started feeling a bit more comfortable? Like it was in the question. Like, how did you become comfortable with everything? Did it just come with feedback, or? Well,
honestly, I think that's probably what it was. It was during the same run. It was probably an issue in, maybe hearing from the writer Cody Ziegler and Danny, my editor, just hearing just the praise and over the art, and it just eased me into, I guess, what it was, because I'd always assumed Marvel was, and I'm not saying they aren't, but I mean, because they're strict, they you have to do what you have to do, but those guys just made me feel like family, and it felt like home. So that was what probably helped me just kind of mellow out, and
I do remember like handing in a chunk of pages, and it depends who you're working with, like, editors can be really great, and others can be like, yeah, cool, fine, and you're just there I need, give me something, I need
it's like I need to know if I'm doing good.
Yeah. Like, great job is great to hear, but when you've handed in 10 pages that you spent 3 weeks on, just give me a little bit more sugar, I just need something to sustain myself.
Yeah, I like the meat and potatoes. Let me know. Yeah, go in depth about how awesome my line work is.
Well, I think, as I'm sure I said it before, but I always try and point out a couple of things just to let people know I've actually looked, because the insecurity you can have can be just like, oh, they're just saying that, or they didn't even look, or because I think it's tough because you're pining so much expectation, especially if you hand in a significant amount of pages and you don't get anything back. But also, I've worked with different people now as from the writing point of view, where Andrea Briccardo on Alien sent in every page as he works on it, and I like to point something out, but I'm also I don't know what to say. I already said it in the pencils, so I don't know what to say in the inks. And then there's other people who just hand in pages, a chunk of pages, and there's so much stuff to get into, I can't get into all of it, So I'd at least try and say something, just because I'm look, I get it. You need to know that I'm actually looking at these pages, and I am. So, I try do that. Just because I remember what it was like. I used to work when I worked with Warren Ellis. He'd just be like, "Good," I'd hand in a whole issue and be like, "Good."
Oh god.
But you have to know who you're working with. Some people are just. They're very busy and they're being efficient, or they're not. It depends. I think you do, as an artist, you kind of need to build up that self-confidence. Otherwise, if you're completely dependent on who you're working with, you could be really let down.
Yeah. I think I've reached that point, though. I don't necessarily need them, thankfully, to justify what it is. It's I know it's fun, it's good, let's just move on. Let's go on with it.
You're just. Oh, I get it now. You're just a Mason. You don't need approval from anybody anymore.
I don't need that.
Well, I'm just looking here. You sent on Spider Punk page. Was this? Is this from the previous series? I can't remember the one you're working on now.
This is from this run that's coming up.
Oh, cool! Yeah, it looks a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? Slicker, I guess. It's more kind of like I always liked the kind of roughness of your work, but it looks like you're getting a little bit slicker with this one. I think you said you're using pen more now this time, aren't you?
Yeah, it's almost exclusive. The Hunt 102.
Oh,
a lot. I'm still using the brush and doing some dirty stuff here and there, but I don't know. It's like I feel like me personally. It's like I don't think colorists that I've worked with are understanding my line work and how I should be rendered. So, and that style maybe is just more, I guess, not easy to understand. So I switched to this to maybe they can, I don't know, the like you said, the slicker rendering. Maybe they can.
What are you looking for? More with the kind of like what kind of style are you looking for in the colors?
I don't even know myself, man. It's like when I see it is when I know if I like it.
Because you've been pretty lucky. Like you've had Chris O'Halloran, Trina Farrell. What's the name of the colors on the first Spider Punk? I can't remember.
Oh man, I can't remember. He's gonna hate me. I swear.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Team Punk.
Oh, you're letting me down. You're letting him down.
Cheryl Lampidus.
Oh, that was it. Yeah. That was good. Who colored you on the? Who's coloring you on 2099? Because that would look a lot slicker than before.
Yeah, that one. So we had two colors. It started out Jordan Boyd for the first 3 issues, I believe, and then went to
Jordan's
Antonio.
Great.
Yeah, he was great. Then we went. He had to hop off, and we ended up going with Antonio Fabella, I believe it was his name.
Okay, he's a lot like slicker, for lack of a better word, like more kind of more rendery and shiny. Did you like that more or less?
I'm not. Everybody has their own style, and it's fine.
Yeah, no, this is like it's not who is better, but just what you feel worked for you.
Right. I feel like Antonio's work on 29 was great, but I do feel like it was a little too vibrant, if that's the word. It sounds wrong, especially for 29, because you would think it's a city vibrant. But what I think Jordan set, the tone, it kind of changed drastically whenever Antonio jumped on. But for that run, I think Jordan definitely had it nailed down. For what I was looking for.
Well, I mean, I think it does really help to know what you like and what you don't like, And sometimes not don't like, but like have a preference for, like, because I remember when I worked on Thunderbolts, I was kind of frustrated because Frank Martin did like a lot more rendering than I liked. But like his color choices and effects were amazing, but I was always kind of frustrated a little because I wanted something, because what he did with Kev Walker was fantastic, and he did the same thing with me, which was also fantastic, but just not necessarily to my taste. But I noticed as we went along issue by issue, he kind of pulled back more. So by the time we were wrapping up the book, I like loved what he was doing. He just he put more work in the areas I'd like it, and he left it out where I'd like. So I mean, sometimes a lot of this stuff comes from just working with somebody for a while, You also sent
that's
on.
What it is. I was just saying I think that's what it is. Working with somebody for a period of time, it's like they need to grow with you, essentially. Because you're probably never going to nail it the first time. But yeah, this was really fun. Black, White, and Blood.
Yeah, I'm just showing the page from the Marvel Zombies, Red, White, and Blood. Was it?
Yeah.
I just like that you drew my Moon Knight suit. That's all I really care about.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I'm not too shy about it, am I? What was it? What was fun? Was it just fun to work with this color scheme? Like I think like everybody I think likes working on these books because it's fun to do this red, white, and blue. Sorry, red, white, and black is just the coolest color scheme ever.
It is, man. It really is. Like I've been wanting to do one for a while, and because like I said, we're talking about colors and stuff, and there's no shame on no colors, but there's always like, you're like, maybe done that different. This was that opportunity for me to. This is me. This is entirely me. So if I'm not happy with it, it's my fault. But yeah, this was just so fun to. Oh, that's
interesting. Marvin says it's the best Moon Knight costume design. I mean,
is it?
Not my words, just if that's what people feel, that's what people feel. But no, that's great. I've gotten to do a couple of those. I've only drawn one of them, but it is a really cool, I don't know anybody who doesn't love that color scheme. Also, it's like your choice, it's the closest thing probably to what you had thought of, and then it actually hits the printed page. Must be a cool experience.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do more, down the road. But, if this is what I do for now, I mean, this was a great story too. Just being able to do Moon Knight, your design, zombies, him turning into a zombie. It was, it was pretty. I got it all in that one.
Well, if you don't mind, I want to go back and look at Dynamite, if that's okay. I was going to see, actually, just another couple of questions here. Marvin also asked, what part of your process do you have the most fun with? I love your inks, so it seems like you really enjoy slinging ink.
That's actually my, it's my motto I go by. I sling ink, I talk to Danny all the time. I'm like, all right, Danny, can I sling the ink?
You can get away with that because of your southern accent, Slinging ink.
I want slinging that ink.
Slinging ink, y'all.
I really think about making t-shirts. Think about making some t-shirts. Slinging ink.
I'll put me down for
that. I got you. Okay, what was the question, Morgan? I'm sorry. Can you pop that back up?
He said, what part of your process do you have most fun with? Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I think that's it. That's a slinging the ink. Seriously, I mean, not to just, it's just getting to spread the ink across the board. And the board I use is it's usually plate or super slick, super smooth. So I get to manipulate the ink, and right now I'm having fun with the nibs, just creating different textures with the lines, and that's it. That's my favorite part of the process. Thumbnails are just they can be stressful for me. And I like them. It's a fun part because it's just where it's your biggest creative point. You get to dictate and tell this story, but I've got 2 kids and they're a handful. So it's not easy to sit in quiet or try to read a script and have quiet, because there's never quiet. It's always screaming in the background from a little girl. So I like.
An ex-girlfriend pointed out to me one time that whenever I was doing layouts was the only time she could never talk to me, because I would be really like, and I'm not really a stressed kind of guy, but it would be the one time I'm like, I'd snap back or something, I'd be so concentrated on it. But like my favorite is also the inking, but like the layouts are also like, that's the making comics bit. And sometimes I feel once I've done it, I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta draw the thing now. And then the drawing is just like all the crap I need to do to get to the inking. Like I'm penciling something at the moment, and I'm so tempted to just start inking because that's what I want to do. But I know, like, no, hold on, just get through this so we can start inking.
Breathe. It's funny to hear that though, because mine, I do the layouts, I print them out in blue line, and I might pencil barely, like just enough to get what I need, and then I start inking.
Well, I tried that before, and I just fell apart. I really need to figure things out on the pencils. I need to figure it all out, and then I can be a bit looser when I'm inking, but it has to be kind of there. I know. I'm saying maybe Daniel Warren Johnson's a little like that, like you are, where it's kind of like there, but you can just kind of put it in the inks. I'm kind of different. I need it all in there, and then I'll kind of choose what to ink and what not to ink. But if I try to do it in the ink, disaster. I have tried it. I thought I'd be such a genius, but no, total disaster. We have another question. Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, I pencil like super important stuff for sure, though, like faces, or I don't want to even second guess a face, or a hand or something. But yeah, like just majority of it, if it's big bulky stuff, buildings, I just kind of lay a line down just quick enough, But yeah.
Yeah, I penciled something yesterday, and it was going fine. I drew in like the front background or element, and I just looked at it and I realized, I went out loud, I went, fuck. And I realized like the perspective point, the horizon line was like way too high. I was like, God, fuck it anyway. It's not, I gotta go in. Thankfully it wasn't that much of a problem, but I feel like that's the pencils for me. I'm, workshopping it all so that it works. So, but yeah, no, I hate it. I hate penciling, but it's got to be done. Another question here from Tatjana. Did you run into anything that didn't work that well back then, Justin? Like changes they wanted to be done because they didn't like your ideas or anything? I think she means like when you were starting out.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know how far back. I mean, maybe if Dynamite, if we want to talk about that, in particular, I don't think there was anything in that point that we ever had to go back and change.
Well, aside from half the story, which is why we didn't do the book.
well, yeah.
But anyway,
that's why I was like, once they said maybe I'd have to redraw the whole story, I'm like, I can't do that again. I can't, because it was such a good story. It was such a good story as it was.
Well, it was written by Declan. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I mean, I was a little insecure in that book too, because like I think it was the first series I was going to be writing. That no, I had done Deadpool vs. Old Man Logan, but I guess it was taking a whole idea and building it up. And, like I'm doing that now with Thundercats, and I love it. But it's really once the artist comes on where it really starts to come together. And so when we had you, it was like I was feeling great. Same as having Drew on Thundercats, is once you see the actual images coming in and it's on the way you wanted to go was really cool. Yeah. But I think maybe Tatjana meant at Marvel, like did you have, when you were starting out and you were feeling comfortable, like was there any resistance or stuff that was an issue?
Honestly, since I've been at Marvel, I've had one project where I had to alter one panel. And aside from that, I've not had to, never had no resistance. I mean, it's always just fun because, like before you do a project, you have to do, design work and figure it out. So there's always bouncing back and forth there. But by the time you're on the page, you should know what you need to do. And if layouts are approved, everything should go smoothly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm the same. Like, I mean, I've had some things here and there over, 10 years, but like, what I like about Marvel personally is generally the thing they give you to do is the thing that you do. I've worked at other companies where it's like, do you want to do this? And you say yes, and then it ends up being something, they kind of change things from underneath you. And I find that very frustrating. At Marvel, if it's like, do you want to draw Spider-Punk? You're drawing Spider-Punk, it's not all of a sudden, I don't know, Jubilee or whatever, like something that you wouldn't agree to. And I think, you workshop stuff enough. So by the time you're drawing, I'm trying to think for me, I can't think of an example that where something I did was such a problem I had to go back and redraw a whole lot of it. Yeah. Thankfully, anyway. I'll say thanks for all the questions, guys. Normally, I have to ask them, but everyone else is asking them, so it's fine. I did
work for you.
Yeah, I do want to go. I'm going to go all the way back to Dynamite because that was your first big project, and I was literally there to see you work on it. Do you remember these? I found these today.
Man,
so these are your layouts.
I didn't. Yeah, see, I didn't see. I've lost this too. Wow.
Yeah, I suspect you just didn't want anybody to see, but I got it now, so
I didn't.
Screwed.
No, yeah, that's awesome.
So has your process changed more? So this is what, 4 years ago or whatever it was. Like, has your process changed much since then?
Honestly, it's other than that was traditional. So the only thing that's really changed is I just do everything on Procreate now, digitally, layouts. It's just quicker for me that way. If I drew like a figure in a panel too big, I can just crop him and alter him how big I need him, or move him around, or however.
And how did you?
But yeah, it's
how did you find the script? I mean, how did you find like reading the script and breaking it? Like, because this is, I know you've done some other smaller stuff, but like, did you have to adjust how you like to pace things? From taking the script, like, did it gel for you, or did you find it hard? And then after this project with other writers, did it go better or worse, or do you find a certain type of script hard or another type of script easier? Or?
Well, this one, like I said, this was the biggest point for me, and this script was the most professional script I've had, so it was the best script. But I think it also, a big thanks can be given to you, because you're an artist, so you see things the way an artist sees things, and as a writer, they're great. I've worked with writers that are great with descriptions, but a lot of times they just kind of leave a lot up to you, and that's great too. But sometimes I like to know, what are you seeing as a writer? Because if it's interesting enough, I want to be able to tell that. If I am like, oh, okay, that's a great idea. But yeah, like your scripts was just perfect. Like that first page, it was you boom, boom, boom. You had the vertical panels. It was just like you see like the bones, like the camera's going down. It's everything about it, like the fighting. It was all just. This was the intro, and it helped me understand this is how scripts should be for an artist.
I mean, look, that's great. That is great to hear. I mean, that is always a worry for me. Is this making sense, or is it flowing? Like, it's like that first page, I remember writing and going like, oh, this will be cool to draw. And I always feel like when I have that moment, like I feel that, whoever's drawing it will have that, I'm hoping will have that moment. But it is interesting, because I do know some people like to have lots of room. And some people like to have lots of detail. I know I don't really like. I think it's just because when I've worked on stuff that's like more up to me, I'm kind of like, I'd be frustrated, because I'm like, this is kind of your job to give me the stuff to work with, and then I'll work with it. But if you give me nothing, I'm looking for something to kind of hook onto. I always try and give something to hook onto, but not so descriptive that it like kind of forces you into a box. But I think I've had success writing like that. But at this point, working with you, I don't think I'd really only written one miniseries properly before that, so I wasn't sure that was the case. And it also just depends who you work with too. So I'm glad that flowed for you, because I remember what I was worried about at the time.
Yeah, I mean it gelled so well with me, and like I said, everyone's different, I mean, I've worked with writers now that are, like you, they're like, this is, I even like when they just give me an idea and just to try, this is a great idea, but you don't have to do it. Just having that idea helps sit me in the story even more, find my place.
Do you remember anything particularly like difficult about this script? Or not just the script, but like just the whole putting together the whole thing visually? Was there anything? Because there was like fights on the docks, and there was like a spaceship, and but even like that was it. I mean, even your spaceship design was really cool. I'll show it in a bit. But for those who don't know, the concept of Dynamite was that it was the dynamite characters, fighting zombies, which is I'd done really well at Marvel. I'd done really well at DC. I think it was a really cool idea. Just
It really was.
yeah, what we were working on changed, so I wasn't interested in the change. So, and it was so broken because there's so many good pages. I'm going to show them in a bit, but
I know.
yeah, I'm wondering, was there anything in it that was particularly difficult?
No, honestly, it was such a fun exercise. Essentially, I guess that's what you want to say. It was just because I wasn't, I never got to really touch these places in a story before, because this is technically my first work. So doing space, and then like the moody docks, and just these settings, the flow of the story, everything. Just, I don't remember really stressing much on this one. This one, it just came out naturally, and it was. I wish they all done this, but they don't come out. But I like too. Like, I think it was page 20 there. It's the 3 or the 6 panels.
The silhouettes.
Yeah, I believe you even. I can't remember exactly the script because it's been a good minute, but I'm pretty sure you had even mentioned doing something like that, which helped me see. Oh, that's a great idea. I like that. It just helps flow easier. I'm not just lost in the wind kind of thing.
Well, I mean, looking over all the layouts here, I think you can see when I'm writing, I do have a kind of a visual sense of things, and a kind of a natural pacing. So when I'm kind of writing maybe an action scene, I have a sense of what's going to fit. And then sometimes you're left with you don't have enough room, so you got to condense things. But
yeah.
I think I often find you need moments to breathe. So, I knew we wanted a splash page with Kato and Green Hornet. I knew later on then with Red Sonja. So that's two splash pages, which is pushing it, 2 splash pages in one book is, in a 22-page comic, I think you can get away with it. In a 20-page one, you can't.
Yeah.
But also, you just don't want it all packed with just 5 pages and 6 pages and panels and 7 panels.
Yeah.
That's why I went with the first page. It's more of a kind of a mood thing. It's interesting looking over your layouts, because I look at my layouts the same way, where I can see how much, the Vampirella, she doesn't get a splash page, but it's the 2-panel page. But there's, there's more room for the introduction of the ship, but then other moments need to be packed in. So it's nice seeing all your layouts, because I think you get a good sense of the pacing of the issue, looking over the whole thing like that.
Yeah,
so I don't know if you remember this. I completely forgotten. I just found it today when I was looking through stuff. I did a kind of that's the cover I did for issue 1. I'm not sure if anybody ever saw that.
I don't think so.
I think I gave you this kind of prep doc, basically, of what I was thinking. I completely forgot about this until I found it today. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I actually remember. I think I had them somewhere, because I've seen them a while back. But we did. Jens wanted me to do designs of Green Hornet or something, and then I did the designs, and I did because I remember you talked maybe showing a cracked, his mask and everything. Yeah, and that's I think, because I remember you telling me specifically that is what inspired you to do that piece. So that's really cool. Oh,
right. I see. Okay, because I did it. Yeah, okay. Well, I guess that's one thing, is when I'm working on something, I do try and think of cool image, because it's a visual medium, and we all like to draw cool stuff, But I did again. So what I did basically, looking here, is I put together a PDF of there's different. So you can see Green Hornet was kind of the hook of the book for me. And then we found out we couldn't use them. But I just wanted to give you kind of a visual sense of what I was thinking of, the kind of more noirish kind of feel to the book. And then it would have this twist of the zombie thing at the end, So I had a lot of stuff here. And I remember...
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, again, I'd completely forgotten it for the vampire aliens. Isn't that what they were? Yeah, all the vampires, they all had this kind of regal costumes, and I wish I could find your layout. I think you DM'd me your designs, and I couldn't find them afterwards.
Dang.
But so this is just basically I guess a tone piece. And and I'd forgotten this is the one thing note I'd given you about Red Sonja was I was thinking of what's her name from Vikings? Lagertha, that's it, yeah. Lagertha.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of the eye makeup was just the one thing I had, and then I sent it off. And then you sent in these brilliant designs. They were fantastic.
I hate that nobody ever seen them, and it's like, man, we had such a really cool Red Sonja design.
Yeah, I found the Dropbox links in the emails because I went through the emails today, but they were all dead links, so I couldn't.
Oh, jeez.
That's on you, my friend. But
oh man.
So yeah, so here's the issue. I distinctly remember you did this cover. I distinctly remember trying to tell you how to scan stuff with this one.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, I was still figuring it all out, man. It's crazy.
No, absolutely. I'm not saying it to embarrass you. Like, just that, like, it was so weird for me to have to talk to somebody like just the pure base. Like, I'm sure now imagine now somebody who asked you, what do you do? Like, how do you scan? How do you scan your pages? Like, what would your reaction be?
I mean, I definitely can. I feel like I see where you're at now. It's like, huh? It's like, what do you mean?
Only because you've done it so many times.
Yeah.
It's not even a question you even think about. It's like, how do you pick up a pencil? It's like, how do I use my hands?
Yeah. All right.
But no, I remember you scanned it, and then it wasn't work right, and then I had to give you, I was giving you more. Like, I think, what was helpful clearly to you was you were able to just ask somebody. I mean, I remember you saying, like, I'm really sorry, this is a dumb question, but it's not a dumb question if you don't know something, you're not dumb, you just don't know this stuff, there's, you can find stuff online where people will give you specs, but sometimes you don't know it's going to be, I've heard of jobs where people hand in books and they're colored and the resolution is completely doesn't work, it won't print, unless you ask these questions, you're going to make those mistakes. So, and I remember just being so surprised because you didn't know any of that, but your drawing was so good. Like I was able to do that basic stuff and my drawing sucked and I got better, but you were already like so far up here in your drawing ability. It's funny. I was wondering if you remembered because, we had a lot of back and forth about like just the technical stuff.
Well, because I remember specifically I was taught to print in a different way that wasn't very efficient and wasn't right. And then whenever I went to you about it, you pretty much taught me the way you do it, and I've done that ever since. Like, I don't do it no other way now.
Okay.
But yeah, the other way was just weird, how I was taught, and I don't know why I was taught that way.
Well, some people have different ways to get to the end, so, other ways might be more laborious or they might be simpler, but I mean, as long as you get to the right destination, it's fine. But I think I'd refined my process pretty much at that stage where I think I even gave you an action to clean up the inks.
Yeah,
did I?
At the levels, yep.
Yeah. And I got that from somebody back in the day, like it all,
really?
like whatever I was able to tell you, somebody else told me, back in the day. But that, I don't think that even got colored, did it?
I don't know, but I swear I feel like Chris may have colored it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, he might have actually, yeah. But speaking of Chris O'Halloran was the colorist of this book until we stepped off. But I love that page. That looks fantastic, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's so simple. There's nothing to it, but it's Chris's colors that he nailed it.
Like, the colors are. I hate complimenting Chris, but there we go again. It seems to be a recurring theme on this. But I think I remember with this was like, because so much of it was going to be like, pulpy Green Hornet stuff, I had to be like, establish this is a horror book, from the beginning. That was great. But like, man, your stuff was so good. I mean, what age were you when we did this?
26, 27.
Okay.
26.
Okay, so you were the child, but but it was still it was for somebody who hadn't had much published work, your stuff was so informed already. And I remember that page came in. I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want the book to be like.
Man, I really wish it would have got seen a light of day. I mean, it is so sad that nobody.
Well, we're getting to kind of show it here at least, you know.
Yeah.
And that was your. I mean, I think you said Kato was your favorite because you love to draw all the like karate stuff.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm a big Bruce Lee fan, so Bruce Lee played him, back in the day, and so just kind of getting to touch that character that he pretty much was there. He was there. He created the character. So yeah, I got to bring that out a little bit.
And yeah, I think I liked this is all pulp inspired, but I mean it's also very contemporary looking. Like I just love seeing like Green Hornet look like that.
Yeah, I did too.
The action is like this. Like I could see what you did with the that barrel in panel 1, the way it's warped, like, and the way Green Hornet punches that guy. Like I'd never seen. I mean, I haven't read a lot of Green Hornet, but I hadn't seen him drawn so dynamically like that. So I was so jazzed about all this stuff. Like,
man,
yeah, that's sweet.
It's
Green Hornet.
Yeah,
like, I mean, I don't even think I wrote that. I think that's you.
I don't think you did. You might have said he kicks him down or something. But that's where I think you even let me have a little bit of free reign. You're like, if you want to do some crazy martial art stuff, fit it in. If it fits, go for it. So that's why
I do like writing action, but at the same time, I don't. I wouldn't want to be dictated to. Because everyone has a different sense of like how to move their eye around a page.
Right.
This is so good. And this, I actually, again, Chris's colors on this are lovely, but there's a lovely Vampirella page here. Just all the blues and purples and her green eyes popping out. But I mean, it works so well with your stuff too. I mean, I don't know if this type of coloring is what you'd want now, but I just think it works so well with your stuff.
Yeah, like I'd love to work with Chris more, but he's so busy. It seems like he's doing his own stuff. So
he thinks he's so great now.
Yeah.
So it's just your little. I was also basically getting to write a Star Trek book, but but it was all vampires,
Oh yeah, man.
No, it was great. Tracy, and then I think in the story. That was it. Is the Green Hornet gets bitten, and then he tries to.
Yeah.
I think if I recall the story, like Kato becomes the main character really because Green Hornet gets bit. But there's a great silhouette page. Turned out real nice. Yep, I would imagine I probably suggested silhouettes because I do like to. I find them very good to kind of get a lot in sometimes, and I also know they're easier to draw. So
Yeah, but it also it's actually. I like that we've done the silhouette here because it just lets the reader, if they'd ever got to read it, but just in general, it lets the reader think of what crazy crap was getting cut, what was getting sliced. You see stuff happening, but like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So yeah, that's why.
And also, I think if you saw all the violence, seeing the decapitated head, like would the reveal of that would be kind of undercut, The mystery at the top, and then the reveal of the head at the bottom. I think, worked out there. But and then so this is your Red Sonja design was so badass. Like I fucking loved it. It was so cool. I think it's online anyway. But I drew a cover for issue 2 of your design, and it was just so much fun to draw.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you. That was such a fun design. But I mean, I love the idea you had with the face paint and just the big old fluff, just the, whatever you call it, just whatever she's wearing. I don't know. It's just so cool. Big old axe. Yeah, man.
Big old axe is the best.
Big old axe.
Big old axe. That's the best way to describe it. But no, yeah, it was great. Like it's a shame it didn't work out, but like I at least wanted to show the pages here because I just thought you did such great stuff. Like,
I'm glad that we're showing it. Just because I've wanted to share pages for years, but I'm like, man, I'll probably get in trouble. Don't want to try that. So.
No, I mean, I think right afterwards would have been bad form, but the book's out in a while now, and like there's no badness there. Just I think it would have been bad form to undercut the book as it was coming out. But it's been a few years, and I think it's stuff like this happens. Man, look, I've got a Punisher book that never came out. Like it's like I think everybody, I guess, should have something in their career that nobody gets to see. But we're saying, like, what would you have a favorite book you've worked on out of all the stuff you've gotten to do at this stage?
So far, honestly, man, I mean,
it's gotta be Spider-Punk, right?
It's gotta be Spider-Punk. I just don't want to sound shallow or, just like Spider-Punk really, of all things. But I don't know. I guess because I've drawn going on 9 issues of Spider-Punk, so it's just I've spent more time with. It's just the team's been great. So yeah, I've enjoyed probably that the most so far.
But so getting to come back to it now must be great.
Yeah. I mean, just getting that green light to come back, man, that was crazy. Like because it don't happen. That usually they don't keep the same creative team, but just lucky enough, some good people over there was kind enough to knew how bad we wanted it and let us tackle it one more time.
Well, I mean, I think there also has been a very successful movie, which probably didn't hurt.
Yeah, that helps. That helped.
Jen has another question. Did you change your workflow after breaking into the industry? If so, how much did you change it?
Workflow, I mean, well, when I broke in, it's just from the beginning. I mean, you have to work. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by workflow, but it's just you wake up just like any other job. You go to work, except I go to my desk kind of thing, sit for 8 to 10 hours until it's done, and then it's just
imagine having kids probably changed things like
that. That's what changed it. Like the moment I broke in, because my girl was still little, so and even when we did Dynamite, she wasn't even born yet, so I had a lot of freedom. It was like I could wake up a little later in the day if I needed to. Now it's definitely a challenge with the work, because it's having to wake up, take care of the kids, get them to the point where they're okay, settled down, where I can go work without Makila, get in here and help me. they're driving her up the wall kind of thing. So yeah. But that's been a challenge.
I gotta pay the bills. Close the door. Do Spider-Man.
Look,
you have it so
I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
I guess so. To Jan clarifies, because I mean how you approach things and work through it. Were you able to optimize stuff, having shortcuts and all?
Well, I guess going back to the layouts stuff, like when I was with Dynamite, and even before then, when indie stuff, it was just all traditional. In a sketchbook, it takes a little longer. I mean, it's still great. It's fun. That's still a good way to do it. I still even do it now. But to speed up the process and try to get it done a little bit quicker, I just go to an iPad now. And, like I said, just I can draw them there and just alter it in some, much more, rather than having to erase a whole panel and then redraw on it and redraw on it. Because I hate those moments when you're doing layouts and something ain't working on one side, but then you've drawn this awesome little figure over here and he's so good, but you have to erase him and you don't want to, because he's like, that is it. I captured the magic. So with an iPad, I can erase over here and then just capture him, move him around, So yeah, that's I've optimized with an iPad.
I think you need to have that workflow before you become professional. I mean, you have to treat the non-professional work like professional work in order to work out all those kinks and figure out that workflow.
Yeah.
Because by the time you do get the professional work, if you haven't done those marathons, then you're not going to be able to handle it at all. So it's not even a case you need to adjust things that much. I think you need to be able to just have that flow already. I do think you will find some things to optimize, but they're generally small little things. Like say my layout process, that took me a while, but it was refined as I went. But by the time I was at Marvel, I think I'd had that in. I think you just have to figure out how to be professional, even if you don't have a professional job. And then by the time you get actual work, you're able for it. Otherwise, I think you'd fall apart.
Yeah, you don't want to work out kinks in the big leagues, essentially. You want to have them kinks worked out prior. So, I think it's always stressful enough.
Yeah, but like people who haven't drawn any professional comics, published comics, doing samples for Marvel, I think is a waste of time. We've all done it, but like, if you got handed the job of drawing Amazing Spider-Man and you'd never drawn any like pages in a month, it's over. You'll never do it. Not that you couldn't ever do it, but you just won't be able. Like there's, I think you are quite fortunate to have gotten in at Marvel in the space of time that you did. I know it didn't feel like that at the time, but I imagine now if you look back and you realize I did half a series that didn't get published and another series that did, and then I was at Marvel. Like that's not a lot of stuff under your belt before hitting, say, the big leagues. But I think any less than that wouldn't have been enough, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel very lucky because I know guys that takes years, to even get that door open. So, I mean, I don't like, and I've heard that takes a lot. That's a lot into it is luck, So, yeah, I mean, I definitely had the kinks worked out and what we did, especially like coming back to you, like you helped me figure out how to just scan a page in. That would have not been good if I'd been on Marvel, like ask my editor, how do I scan a page in?
It wouldn't have been a great look, but look, I'm sure it's not the first time it would have happened. I'm 100% positive it's probably happened before. But I think editors would expect that you're able to do that at that stage. But I don't think it would have ruined your career, but it certainly wouldn't. It would have made you look more amateurish, which is not what you want when you're starting there.
Right? Yeah. Like you don't want to look amateurish, and then they're like, "Well, I'm not going to hire him for the next project because he's not 100% sure on what he's doing."
I mean, kind of makes sense. I mean, looking back now, I mean, I know it's not like you've been around for a million years or anything, but like you've got enough books under your belt now. If you could go back and like give yourself advice, I know I did this for you at the time, but like maybe there's stuff I told you where you're like, I don't really think so. Like, what would you advise like younger Justin?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I mean, just because at the end of the day, it's like, I would say just keep doing what you're doing but if I could go back and then help him, I would definitely.
If you need me to do an impression of young Justin to help you, I'll totally do it. There might be some yeehaws and firing guns in the air or something. I don't really know what we do. But yeah, some yeehaws. But no, saying keep it. I think the difficult thing with advice is that like anything you say sounds trite. It sounds basic. Like it's not really that insightful. Exactly, I think it's because a lot of it is just very true. Like you said, keep at it. Like that's the most non-useful thing you could say to somebody, but it is like good advice. Like
it is the truth, though.
Well, like you were smart enough to get your friend to tweet that thing, and I think if I recall, you'd done a Carnage short story for fun for portfolio, and I think you might have asked me to retweet that. I can't remember, but.
Yeah,
maybe I just did it anyway. But I mean, that was fairly canny of you, considering like I describe you as a very kind of wholesome minded. You know, like I know you just want to do this because you love comics and you want to make comics, and you're not like a
Yeah.
careerist. You're not, you know, you don't really have to. But those were smart things to do to get yourself out there.
Yeah.
At a time where you know there's so much competition, so much people trying to get attention. But yeah, is there any? Trying to think, is there anything more personal you could have maybe told yourself, like I don't know, like you know, trying to make this work? And I mean, yeah, you from your background, I doubt you know a whole lot of comic creators. Like, was the fact that you were doing this like a crazy thing? Did your family think you were nuts?
Oh gosh. Yeah, like even now, man, it's like I still have family that don't understand what I'm doing. Like I had a cousin that come over yesterday, and she was just looking on my shoulder, looking at a page, and she's like, "I don't understand how you do this." And it's like, I just do it. She's like, how do you visually see a picture from words? It's like, don't you read a book and visualize that as a movie in your head? You know, I mean, but yeah, I still have it today. You know, if I
do you think there's something you could have told, you know, you when you were just like doing portfolio pages, something that would have held more inspiration than like, you know, keep at it?
just it'll all be worth it in the end. I mean, it's like don't listen, you know, to what you're hearing, because man, you know, the younger me was just on the verge of giving up. So it's just do what you want to do what makes you happy. If that makes you happy, do it. You don't have to do these other, you know, where I'm from, it's like if you ain't working a factory or fast food, you're not working. So, you know, I would just keep preaching that, you know, just you don't have to do that. You can do what you love to do in life, you know.
And what do you think that, like, you know, fresh faced, I guess, Justin would say now, looking at where you are?
I'll be honest, I don't even know, because
2 kids.
well, yeah, it's just like I was looking at the Spider-Man cover I did today, you know, just thinking, you know, I did that, and I you know, looking back at when I first started or when I was a kid, it wouldn't feel real. That's how far off it felt. Like it's like that's a dream. It ain't gonna happen. But yeah, so it's just telling them anything's possible. You just have to want it bad enough.
But do you think he could see what you're doing and even like think that was even part, like as much as he would have wanted it? And you know, we're not talking a huge amount of time here, man. We're talking like 5 years less, maybe. I don't try to think. Like, could he have imagined like now, like you just did an amazing Spider-Man cover?
No, like when I first started out, I was actually thinking that, you know, it's like, okay, I am, you know, doing the Rogues or something. I was like, man, Marvel is forever away. And then it was the next,
wasn't that far.
it was the next, it was the next step, you know, it was the next doorstep. And then whenever it was Marvel, I didn't expect anything Spider-Man. You know, I expected at most maybe some side X-Men or something right now, you know, just that ain't like no Spider-Man character, you know, not Avengers or nothing. But yeah, to see and then get Spider-Man.
Man, I've been a Marvel since 2010, and I've drawn Spider-Man maybe 5 times. You know, and you've done, this is your 3rd Spider-Man project. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel very, very fortunate, very lucky. I hope maybe that I can continue doing it, you know, because it's what I love to do. You know, it's what the character that really made me do what I'm doing today.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be really tough for you to get more Spider-Man stuff. Let me take a step back again to just look over Rogues, the first issue of Rogues Gallery. And I'm curious, after having done Dynamite, again, you know, it didn't come out, and I know you were really gutted about that at the time. What was it like doing a book that, one, did come out, and and two, like it's the first proper. I mean, you drew all the 4 issues. What did you? Oh, sorry, that's the pitch. Actually, never mind. Okay, I won't show it then. Let me ask you something and see if I can find it. I guess no, it's going to take me ages to look through it. I'll just ask you. What did you learn in the process of actually getting a 4-issue miniseries out there? It was 20 pages, I think. Maybe a little bit more, but like that would have been the most intense thing you would have worked on, because you did it the whole way through.
That taught me just how to be professional, essentially. Because we done Dynamite, but I did just that 1 issue, and that's when everything fell through. So I understood, in that 1 issue, I got it done in time, and it taught me stuff. But whenever we went to Rogues, it basically was like, okay, this is 4 issues. This is serious. These people ain't gonna wait around. This is it. If this is the make it or break it. Like, if you can do this, then you can do it. If not, it just proves you just don't want it as much as you think you do.
Well, I don't think I would have. I sold it to you to that degree, but I did see like Hannah needed somebody to make a project look great, and you were this great talent that was available. So that's why I put you guys together. And I was there to see the whole thing come together. But I did feel like this is a portfolio project for you to show what you can do, because, well, one, it'll be published, which you forget is a big deal. It's a big difference between putting stuff online and actually being published by a publisher. And also, you would be creating the look of everything. So you would be establishing, more so than just doing like, Dynamite, which is cool, but they're established characters. You'd be designing everything, making everything. So it was definitely a big challenge, but I did feel like if Justin does this mini, it would be a really big stepping stone for him to get more work.
Yeah.
I couldn't have imagined it would be Marvel just yet, but I was like, I think he can. I knew it'd get you somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, like essentially, I don't even know if she had. I think maybe Hannah might have had like a sketch or some sort of piece of what somebody had done for Red Rogue, but it wasn't nothing like. You guys would pretty much like change it and do however you want, but this is just something to start off with. But yeah, I pretty much, it was bare bones. I built it from the ground up, and that was a big thing. Because I never really took that on. And I guess it didn't come. You guys didn't come on like, hey, if you don't do this, you're not gonna, we're gonna move on. But it's something I think in the back of my head I told myself, because that's what I needed. It's like you need that. Okay. If you're serious about this, you need to do it. Don't play around. Like these they're professional. They believe in you to do this. If they're believing in you, you need to believe in yourself and get it done. So that just taught me get 5 pages done a week, or at least at that moment I was doing, Monday through Friday, and then I'd probably sometimes I'd even fit some in on the weekends. So, never miss a deadline kind of thing. It's just stay consistent and prove that you can do what they hired you to do.
Was there a point where, was the single issue format, do you feel that pushed you each issue? And was there a stage where you're like, man, like, I don't know if I'm going to get to the end of this? And not that 4 issues is the biggest thing in the world, but it's the longest thing you had done. And I remember working on graphic novels where I was like 2/3 of the way through, and I was like, oh God, I don't know. This is tough. But then you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. In that moment, and I do it on every project, but I think in that one, I tried to not think about ahead of me. It's like I tried to take each day as it came, because I knew, and like I'm bad for it now, but I knew then it's like take each day as it comes, because if you start looking ahead, you start getting a little anxious, you start worrying, stressing. It's like, can I do this? Is it possible? So at that moment, I focused entirely in that moment. on each page. And I think the first issue I might have felt a little anxiety over some stuff. But for some reason, I remember specifically after I finished that first issue and kind of got over that hump, because it's always that first issue too. It's slower.
First issue is always, yeah. I mean, yeah. If just advice to anybody, if you're ever like given a deadline for the first issue or whatever, like just prepare to give yourself a little bit more time, because like finding your feet, it takes a while. They're definitely the hardest ones.
I'm glad you told me that back then too, because it's stuck with me since. Yeah, it's stuck with me since, because every project I've done, it's always the first issue. I'm like, just get over the first issue hump, because it's always you're always trying to take so much time because of the designing and this and that and this. Like you said, finding your feet, like because you're not familiar with these characters probably entirely. It's your first time. Spider-Man or something, you've probably drawn him 100 times, but drawing him every single day, every single.
It's not the same. Yes, you've probably drawn him, but when you're drawing the actual character in the actual book, it's different. Feels different.
Especially like you're not for fun drawing Peter Parker picking up a coffee cup, getting a drink of coffee. You're not drawing that every day. So yeah, you telling me that helped me tremendously, because I think about it even now. Because my first issue of Spider-Punk that's about to come out, it was a 30-page, and that's the first 30-page I've ever did. So after I hit page 20, I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I got 10 more pages to do. So I had to keep telling myself, just you'll get through it. Just get, calm down.
Could you imagine how that would have gone for you if you hadn't done Rogues Gallery? If you had just started on a Spider-Man project? Think of how you were when you started Rogues, and then you'd gotten that. Like I think you might have, like, you could have short circuited.
For sure.
You developed a kind of a working habit, and you knew what you were doing, and you'd gotten over certain anxieties. But had you piled on all of the pressure of like your childhood heroes and loves and all that, I think it could have completely overwhelmed you.
It really could have. I mean, because like I said, with Rogues, I at first, I think I had a little bit of something, but I definitely got past it pretty quick. But it was just Rogues Gallery. Like, nobody knew what that was. There wasn't much pressure, like you said, from the childhood. So yeah, if I would have had Spider-Punk then, because I was nervous even after, like when I first did draw, and it was Rogues Gallery. So I couldn't imagine if I started out like that, So yeah, it would have been a different ballgame, and I probably would have crumbled, which, it just proves that it's just best to build up everything first, learn everything, work your kinks out, understand how you feel during books, and how, when do you bog down, this and that. So, because man, I talked to Ricky up in New York that last time I went, and, I talked to him about, I'd seen him for a portfolio review back in 2016, and he was like, "Oh, I don't remember." He's like, obviously, I'm like, "I know you. I'm pretty sure you don't."
Sorry, just to clarify, Ricky Purdon is, just for those who don't know,
the Marvel Talent Scout. Yeah,
or as I like to call him, history's greatest monster. He's like the nicest man in the world. Sorry, no, I talked over you there. What was he saying?
No. Well, I was just saying, I brought up to him about some meeting him back in 2016, and he's like, I've seen so many people, man. I'm sorry, I don't remember. And I'm like, I'm just glad you told me what you told me, because even at that time I was like, I'm so ready. I'm good enough. I can draw these books. Let me have a book. And I look back at them pages and I could puke. Like, it's awful. It is just, it's not good.
What did he tell you at that time?
Oh, he told me it was encouraging. It was because I was 23 at that time, and I remember specifically they looked at the pages and they were like, "How old are you?" And I told them, and I think it was him and Emily and maybe a few others at the table, and they were just like, "Nobody at 23 comes in here with this kind of portfolio." So that was it helped push that. You know, it helped me think, okay, this might be, I'm getting closer, but I wasn't ready. Like it was just not nowhere near as good, you know. But yeah,
I mean, that's interesting because I feel like I had the same thing when I saw your stuff for Dynamite. I'm like, he's better than he should be. Like he's not there yet, but there's so much stuff that he's good at that he shouldn't be good at yet. You know, so it's interesting because there was something there. Clearly, you just needed to draw more pages and get to that pace. You know.
Yeah, because starting out just doing samples here and there, I can honestly see the evolution getting better and better in just a short amount of time. Like it's like each sample set, I would get better, and I can see that. But even then, though, looking at it, it's like, man, even though you might have thought, buddy, that you were good, you weren't good. That's what I tell myself. If I could look back, it's like you're good, but you're not good yet.
No, we've all been there. Marvin has another question. Any characters for each of you that you would like to get a chance to work on?
Every time somebody asks me this,
I know the answer. You want to do clearly you'd want to do actual Spider-Man. You want to do Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess in my mind, I'm thinking, because I did that cover, like I sort of just read that. Yes, I would love to do a run on Amazing Spider-Man. But I'm just thinking
Amazing Spider-Man, not just like a Spider-Man like Peter Parker book, but specifically Amazing.
Specifically, I would love to do Amazing. Just because that's it. I feel like that's the top tier thing. For sure. No, I would love to do any other.
It absolutely is. It's just I think like there's amazing artists who get to work on Spider-Man, but like that's such a specific thing. You need to be so good and so fast. You know, to really do it. Like I'm not saying you can't. I actually think you probably could, but it's quite the goal. I commend you on it. I'll never be that guy. I know that, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, I'm sure I could see doing Amazing Spider-Man easy. I feel like you could.
No way. I could do a Spider-Man book, but like a moody kind of character piece or something. Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, you know what it meant. Like you have to draw buildings every panel. Like,
yeah.
Would you let somebody else ink you in order to do that book?
Yeah.
Because I think that's the only way. That's the only way you can do Amazing Spider-Man is if somebody else inks you, I think.
Yeah. I've literally thought about that even lately. Just because, like I can ink myself fine, page a day, which is fine. But I could get so much more detail and so much more backgrounds if I had somebody ink me. I know for a fact.
But then you wouldn't be slinging ink.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. That's my trademark,
No, but I mean, it's interesting to like. I mean, I'm curious about this because I don't think I could. I couldn't have anybody else ink me, which is clearly the only thing holding me back from doing Amazing Spider-Man. But I could totally see you if you were like, inked by Mark Morales or somebody amazing. Like you could totally be like a monthly Amazing Spider-Man artist, totally. But I mean, just the nature of the book, I like. Who nobody draws and inks that book monthly for a long run. It just can't be done. And if you're going to do it, you want to do it for like, you want to do it for a couple of years to be specifically an amazing Spider-Man artist. You have to do it for a while for people to even notice that you're not John Romita Jr.
Right, and that's the goal, though, for sure. And Mark Morales, it's funny you say that because that's somebody that I would probably try to snag if I ever did. Because I mean, he's worked, Ed McGuinness and on Spider-Man and stuff, so he knows and he does killer work. So, and I feel like he could probably even vamp up where I might bog down with pencils. He might be able to spice it up a bit. But that would, realistically, I have been thinking about that. If that ever was to happen, I'd have to pull back and pencil.
Well,
sure.
I mean, like, I'm not trying to mess with your head or anything, but the fact that you're working on Spider-Man books to me seems like very good training ground to ultimately work on the big book. I mean, I've just stressed. I know nothing. I am not part of any. I haven't heard anything I'm just.
What have you heard?
No, I've literally heard nothing. I'm just if I like I said, this wouldn't be my strategy. I don't think I'll ever be that guy. But you're in the Spider-Man office. You're working in those characters. You've built a reputation within there. I don't. If somebody else said to me, I want to draw Amazing Spider-Man, I'd probably tell them not going to happen. But I could see it happening for you. I mean, I'm really not trying to mess with your head, but I think it's doable. I don't think that's an unattainable goal, which I do think it's unattainable for most people.
Well, I really appreciate that because I understand how hard it is, and to even if somebody were in my mind, if that is a possibility, it's probably not anytime soon, which is fine. It's
no, but you're on a train, you're on a path that could lead there. Doesn't necessarily mean it will. I mean, they could offer you something else completely different, but it's within the realm of possibility, But I kind of forced that answer on you there. Is there other stuff? Because you've also pretty much just done Spidey stuff. Is there other stuff you'd like to do?
Well, because
your dream characters.
Well, I mean, Spider-Man, that was the character, but I was actually, the reason why I was hesitant is because whenever people ask me that, I try to think about those side characters nobody really would think about drawing, which I'm not saying this would be a character, but like Daredevil would be fun, because I, like you, it's just like, I love the moodiness.
Hands off. Mine.
Yeah, but I did Ghost Rider would be a fun one too.
Oh man, you do a class Ghost Rider, yeah.
I'm telling
you're good at machines as well. Like you draw a bike so well. Like that, I'd have such a hard time at Ghost Rider. Like if he could run, if Ghost Rider could run, or he was just like on a rocket, maybe.
Oh, crap. Yeah.
Dennis is saying, "Hey guys, can we get McFarlane to sign DEC to write a Haunt book for Justin to draw?" I would totally do that. I mean, I don't know anything about Haunt because I've never. I don't know the McFarlane characters that well, but I would do anything if Justin would draw it. Whatever. I'll do the Ghost Rider.
If you're right. Yeah.
Well, if you're right, I'm drawing. It's no secret. I wanted, like, it was great to work with you on Rogues Gallery, but like, that was like Hannah's like project from inception. Like I would love to do something with you someday, but I'll wait till you're willing to. You're slow. You're done slumming it with Marvel.
Listen, I don't want to step off the Marvel train, but if somebody called and said, "Hey, you and DEC doing this," I'm right there. I'm right there for sure.
I would totally do. I knew when you were doing Rogues that like it's something I would say to writers who are looking for artists. There's a kind of a there's a graph of writers who are looking for artists and artists on their way up. And I'm doing this the wrong way for video, sorry, but effectively, as a writer, you want to find somebody who's really, really good, but nobody knows about yet, which is kind of what happened with you. But also there's a time frame because eventually people will start to see their stuff more. And then somebody like proper editors and proper publishers will find them and snap them up. So you need, you need to see where they are and get them while you can, but don't, like, for example, I wouldn't say you and me should do a three year series, because I would know that Marvel or DC would snap you up in the meantime. So miniseries, grab somebody really good for a miniseries before they're taken away from you. I would say that for any writer kind of looking to break in and stuff, if you find somebody good, grab them while you can, but you're not going to have them for long because ultimately, people with real money are going to come by, and it's very hard to say no to real money,
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, Marvin's asking, which Ghost Rider do you like to draw more, Johnny, Danny, or Robbie?
Danny, catch all day.
Why is that?
the reason why is I think Danny he was the '90s Ghost Rider, and that was whenever I was introduced to him. So
I'm the same. Danny's my guy too.
Yeah, Danny's just I don't know. He just sounds cool. Danny a Ghost
I've
Rider.
just got to draw him. There's a book it's not announced yet, but I'm doing some covers for it, so I've gotten to draw him a couple of times now, and it's like this is the one I want.
Ooh.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. All right, you're gonna keep bragging here.
Yeah. Well, it's just covers, but I'll take. Well, look, you're doing Amazing Spider-Man covers, so what the hell do I know? Tatiana had a good question. Is there anything in y'all's career? Tatiana's German, so I don't know. Is it because you're Southern? She's going with the y'alls. But is there anything in y'all's careers you regret having done and or not done yet? So is there something you regret having done, or something that, or that you regret that you haven't gotten to do?
Yeah, these are good questions, and I need to think about them.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll answer for me, and I think it'll apply to you too. That Dynamite. I wish that had happened, but it didn't. But it didn't, and then Rogues Gallery came around, and that, had Dynamite continued, you wouldn't have been available for Rogues, and had you not done Rogues, then the path you'd be on now wouldn't have happened. And I'm sure you don't regret any of the Marvel stuff you've gotten to do. I'd say maybe 2099 might have been tough because it was weekly, but you were working very ahead on that, so that probably wasn't a problem.
Yeah, that wasn't even like you said. I think I was months and months ahead. But the only thing that sucked was that it come out weekly, so it felt like it just flew by, like nobody even seen it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's tough. Like, I think weekly books are great, but not necessarily for the artist, because it just flies by and people will have just missed it. You spent half a year on something and it's gone.
Yeah, in a month it's gone. But, it's like you got a writer that can write 5 books at a time, so they got so many things out. But an artist is one book for months, kind of thing, and then if it's a week goes by and it's gone, it doesn't.
No, if I was asked to write something that was coming out weekly, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to have to write the whole thing. That's a little bit tough, but that's fine. It's just another project. But if you're an artist, you're spending half a year on something that, like, I'm sure if anybody even knows you did the Spider-Man 29 book, because it's out, but by the time you blink, so it's. But I'm sure it was a fun book, and I doubt you regret it.
Yeah. No, not at all. I mean. And it's I do feel sad at the time. I didn't take it in. Like, I was drawing Spider-Man 2099, and even now it's like sometimes I'm thinking it don't feel real that I drew him. He's such a big character. I mean, he's one of the biggest Spider-Verse characters. So yeah, it was an honor to even have step in that world for a little bit and play around. So that. I kind of answered your question for you there, but honestly, is there something an opportunity that passed you by, or that you regret? I'm trying to think.
I was offered Conan once. Sorry, really? Delay there. I didn't mean to talk over you. I was offered Conan once and I couldn't do it, and I really, really regretted that. But then I got offered it again after the book had come out, so I got to do it anyway. And because I didn't, because I was making a name for myself at Marvel at the time, and I didn't feel like it would be good. I mean, it would have been a great project to work on, but I was worried it would derail my momentum at Marvel at the time. So that was kind of, I know I was kind of feeling like artistically I really missed out there, and that was a bad call. But then in the end, I got offered to do a 3-issue arc. So I got to have my cake and eat it there. So it worked out. And I feel like most of the stuff that I didn't get to do hasn't cost me any, sometimes it might be a book that's this is a really good thing to do. I should do this, even though maybe my heart's not in it. And then it didn't work out. And I've forgotten I've probably forgotten all of those things because they didn't really matter, and things worked out really well for me in the end. So I don't really have regrets, because I think the stuff that didn't work out led to good things anyway. So I think I'm quite fortunate like that. But I mean, I've had way more stuff just in the years I've been doing it. You're fairly new, and I feel like you've gotten really good stuff in a short space of time.
That's why it's hard for me, I guess, because what I've always been offered, like if I couldn't do it, it ain't something that I feel I would regret, because everything that I've done has led to where I'm at now. And I'm beyond grateful for where I'm at, just getting Spider-Man covers and stuff. So I can't really say I regret anything, because everything happens for a reason, kind of thing. One door shuts, one door opens, I feel like it was something else I was going to say to add to that, but yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it.
Well, I mean, someone asked about the characters you wanted to do, but do you have career ambitions? Like, I don't think I'm probably more careerist than you. Things I want to do or ambitions I would have to have. Like, I feel like you're just such a kind of a guy who just loves the job. I mean, so do I, but I think you just kind of embrace what comes your way. But like, is there like, say, to work on Amazing Spider-Man, I think is a career ambition. Is there anything else? Like, I think you've talked about Image at one stage. Like, you'd love to do like the book you actually make yourself.
Yeah. I mean, that's like right now, I just feel I'm so early on still. And
I don't mean right now. Let's say 10 years from now, you'd like to look back and you'll have done 3 things. You worked on Amazing Spider-Man for a couple of years, maybe 3-4 years. Everybody loves you. What else in that space of time? What would you like to have done?
I'd like to do a creator own at Image, for sure. Like, I want to finally do something there and say I created it. So that's a big one.
Because Rogues was work for hire, so
yeah. So even though I did a lot for it, but I was brought on after the fact. So yeah, so I'd like to actually be able to stamp my name on it, say I created this. If it's good, not whatever. And I have I have ideas for stuff that I would love to do, but I'm just kind of going with the flow kind of thing right now. Let's see. But in 10 years, I would like Spider-Man, a creator on, would be great. I don't know what else. I mean, I don't know. It's like I hate that I feel like I don't have the more dreams right now. I'm just at that stage, man. Well,
you're also living your dreams right now. Like, it's hard to be like, this is what I'd really like to do. The thing I'm doing right now is actually the thing that I always wanted to do. Like,
well, that's why it's hard for me to.
Nothing wrong with that.
And I don't want to sound like, oh, I've made it, haha. It's like, that's not how I'm trying to sound. It's literally just, like I said, I'm just right now. I'm actually just today. The cover come out and work on Spider-Punk. I'm just thankful I'm at where I'm at right now, and this is where I wanted to be, years ago. So, and just looking ahead, I just.
Oh, sorry, man. I don't. I shouldn't. You shouldn't need to have any goals beyond the ones that you already have. These are. You're living your best life, as they say. I want to ask you, having now done 3 Spidey books, or you're working on your 3rd, what makes a good Spidey book in your view? Is it like, dynamic poses? Is it certain cityscapes? Like, what do you feel a Spider-Man book needs? Because I know it's Spider-Man characters, not specifically Peter Parker's Spider-Man, but you've done enough stuff now where I feel like the visual language. So advise me, if I'm about to do a Spider-Man book, what would you say to me to keep in mind?
Well, I mean, it is that it's so for the projects I've done on the Spider-Man characters, I do feel like I've never got to do those Bagley pages. You know what I mean? Like those 90 Spider-Man pages, Eric Larson top and front. Just the over the top. They have 3 little panels at the bottom, but the whole page is just Spider-Man swinging. I don't get that.
Oh, really? You didn't? Okay.
No, because that one 2099 page you just showed with just a whole splash of him, I asked Steve for that. I was like, Steve, please.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I wrote him and I was like, please, man.
Because you've done Spider-Punk and you're doing these. You're like, I need a big page.
It's exactly. It's like I need to show off some, like because look, the stories are fantastic.
I'm just showing it there now. It's a fantastic page, man.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like it's these books. I don't know if maybe it's because it's miniseries or what, but they don't really lean into the Spider-Man, the visual language we know, the cities and the swinging, because it probably takes up a lot of space. You need the story. You need to move it forward. You can't just have him swinging around for 3 pages, as much as you want.
Sure, but like say on Thundercats, working with Drew, I knew like we need like the thunder, like people need that. Yeah. Readers are going to want it.
Yeah.
If I was drawing it, I want to draw it. There's definitely, there's writers who, are so into the writing, which of course they are. That's what, it's what you need, because some readers, that's exactly what they want. But, you and I are more visually minded. So, if I was drawing Spider-Man, I want a shot where I'm drawing the fucking Spider-Man, like it doesn't have to be necessarily a splash page. It can be, like you said, it could be a big panel. Like I think you kind of have it here, don't you? With you have your big panel with Spider-Punk and the other characters, and the smaller panels where the story's moving along. That's enough.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do that when I was on Venom with Cullen Bunn. He was good to like drop in a panel where it's just Venom swinging through the city. You need that.
Yeah. And God, your Venom run too, though. Good Lord. I think he did like a double page spread. I'll never forget of him like swinging through Times Square. Jeez almighty. Like,
that's nothing compared to what you can do. That spread is shite compared to what you can do, man.
No, dude, I look at that even now. But yeah, I just don't know if it's the minis or what, man. But I don't feel like we get that much. Like this was that opportunity. I'm like, I better freaking do what I can do right here and try to do a cool pose. But Spider-Punk don't do a lot of swinging through the city, unfortunately. And
okay, right.
But then it could be the story. I don't, because you need to move it along. But I do wonder if me and you were ever to do like a Spider-Man book and you writing, I know you'd be giving me the good meats and potatoes.
Only one way to find out, Justin.
I know,
but no, I agree. I mean, I think it'd be tough for anybody taking on a Spider-Man book because Spidey fans are pretty intense.
Yeah,
and there's certain things they want and don't want, but I think it is important to kind of like try and tap into that energy which is what I love about your work. Like there's so much kind of vibrancy and energy to it. That I just think artists are going to tap into more now. Like you could say, you could do more of those shots, but then there's less room for writing, and you could argue that could go badly. But I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I'm brought up on the same stuff as you. The Bagley Spider-Man, specifically Amazing Spider-Man, more than Ultimate, because that was my time. I mean, I love that stuff, but I haven't read Spidey book in a while, to be honest, so I don't really know what they're like. But I bought yours, I just haven't read it yet. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's always the crux of it's a visual medium, but like it can't all be splash pages, of course. But it's the balance between moving narrative along and also giving people something cool to look at. I mean, I think that there was such a reaction to the image 90s-ness of everything that a lot of people just kind of got, and then like a lot of the writers kind of came in and it all became very cerebral and like an overcorrection happened. And I don't know. I think in most cases we're actually kind of hitting a good medium between like good writing and good art.
Yeah.
I'm starting to just babble now. But like basically, yeah, I'll write Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and you draw it.
Hey, all right, that's it.
Let's do it.
Let's call him up.
There's done. That's how it works.
Yeah.
You do a
Signed
podcast.
Yeah.
But what was it? Marvin says, I bought a page from your Death of the Venomverse story with I didn't realize you worked with David Michelin.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How was it working with him?
Oh man, that was definitely one of those career dream things that I didn't think was possible. I was like, oh, one day, no, but it happened. So that's a career high for me, working with him, getting to talk to him.
Savage.
Yeah, man, it was so cool. And I was so afraid to work with him though, because I've heard, I don't know a lot of the ins and outs, but I've heard that him and Eric Larson didn't get along or something. Maybe I might be wrong, but something about Venom's tongue I've read. I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong, but I think I heard that he didn't like the tongue that much. So I was so scared to draw Venom with his tongue out. So a lot of it, there was times where he just had to smile, and I'm like, a few times I had to add the tongue, but I'm like, man, I don't want him to get mad at me. But no, it was really fun overall. Like, he was super nice, and he was even like, man, your work is really good. He's like, I'm surprised you ain't never worked on no Black, White, and Blood story. It was before the one I did.
Sure.
And I told him, I was like, David, if you ever work on one, let me know. I'm right here. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm actually working on them right now at the moment. But yeah, so yeah, but that was fun.
I can't remember. Did he write Venom Lethal Protector?
I believe so. I think he's writing the new one. But
Bagley. Yeah, I mean, years ago, the one that Bagley and Ron Lim drew. I mean, I guess Google's right here. I could find out. It looks like someone with dyslexia just tried to Google this. Yeah, it was David Michelin. Yeah.
Okay.
Was it? Thankfully, Google was able to read Venom Lethal Protector. There was a bit in that I remember where Peter, he's like trying to find Venom, and he knocks on the door, and someone just slams the door in his face, and Peter goes in the top balloon and goes, "Oh, okay." And I remember, like, I think that's a bit of lettering. I laughed. It made me laugh for like 10 minutes. I'd never really seen something where you totally. It was like it was like O, and then it got smaller, a K. Like, I just read it the way it sounded.
Yeah,
absolutely hear it, and I remember that was one of the funniest things I'd ever read. But Marvin confirmed he wrote it. I should have just asked the chat. Yeah, man, that's savage. Is there anyone? Everyone asks this, but feck it. Is there anyone you'd love to work with that you haven't yet? I'm taking myself out of that, clearly.
I would love to work with Declan Shalvey. No, definitely.
Contractually, you have to say that to be on the podcast.
Robert Kirkman, would love to work with him someday. I mean, just because he's from Kentucky too. Just for that fact. I mean, I love his work for sure, but I'm like, come on, man, we Kentucky boys, you gotta stick together.
Get all the good old boys together. That's
the good old boys.
Call yourselves, right?
Team good old boys.
Well, also, I'm sure you're raised. Like, I find when I'm asked the question, it's never really like a contemporary. And sometimes it is, but like, it's because you always look up to the people who you read when as a kid. Like, they're always, for me, there's loads of amazing creators out there, but you can't help just like look up at like your dream, the people who you always looked up to. Yeah.
I mean, and I think I always, when I'm asked that question, I'll just go to him because of just, in the situation, just being from Kentucky.
I'm like that with Garth Ennis, because Garth is from Ireland, and I grew up reading his stuff, and so there's everybody has that, I think.
Yeah. Trying to think of anybody else. There's tons of people for sure. Scott Snyder would be fun. I'm just thinking of writers though too, because it would be fun to even collaborate, like we talked about before. If I was penciling and working with an inker or something, to collaborate with, I mean, like Mark Morales, Jay Laston, a few others. I mean, but for sure, man, there's all kinds. I would love to, on that aspect. I don't know how, but work with Tony Moore someday. Like something. Don't know what it would be. But like I met him I've met him before, but I actually got to sit and talk with him a lot back in Richmond Con back in like November. But he gave me his number, and now we text pretty often, so it's pretty cool. And waiting for the day, just be like, Tony, let's get something going, man. Work on something on the side, if we can.
Well, I mean, the last couple of years have been really good to you, man. I mean, you've built up a name for yourself on high profile stuff. I mean, you'd be surprised crazier things have happened,
Oh yeah, that's true.
Also, aside from the fact that you're very, 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 very good. So I mean, that's the number one thing, But I wouldn't be surprised if it happened at all. But if there's any other questions, I think I'll wrap it up. We've gone on it. Jesus, I always think this will be an hour. It's nearly 2 hours, so I need to let Justin's children need to see him. So let's give it a minute to see if there's any other questions. Did I have anything else down here? I guess I covered it all there. I guess I'm done. You're able to scan pages now, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Barely.
I guess I'm done. And I think I don't see any other questions, so I'll leave you off, man. Thanks for coming on. This was just really an excuse to catch up with you because I haven't talked to you in ages. And congratulate you on anything that like everything you've been working on. It's just even buying the trades there the other day was just so cool. Like seeing your name on the Marvel books, and I know you're killing it. Like
I appreciate it, man. Seriously, but like I gotta say before we wrap it up, I seriously wouldn't have been here without your help. So, thank you for.
That's not true, man. You would have. No, I know I helped, and I'm glad I helped. But you were too good. It would have happened. I know it would have happened anyway. Like I think, if anything, I helped you get there a little faster. But like,
yeah,
you're such a fantastic talent. You would have 100% ended up where you are anyway. Just would have taken a different path. So, I refuse to accept whatever was going on there. But, just pay me back, do a book with me someday, and then we'll never talk again.
Just cut you off, right? Yeah, for sure. One of these days we got to get something going for sure.
Yeah, I would love it, man. But look, go give my best to the family, and man, I'm sure we'll catch up in a non-public setting soon. Okay.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks a million, guys. This was Tape Deck with Justin Mason. We're out of here. Cheers.